So good afternoon, everyone. We are about to get started. So we will call the June Social Innovation Commission meeting to order. I am going to ask Talia, who is helping us out today, to call for attendance.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing really good today. Give me 1 sec so I can pull up the attendance. Okay. Okay, so Chair Anaya.
Here.
Vice Chair Lane.
President, thank you, Thalia.
Commissioner Aglipe. Mayor Alsbury. Commissioner Alston. Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Brutus.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Caliento.
Present.
Commissioner Cooley.
Present.
Ex officio Criticos. Commissioner De Laurentiis. Commissioner Dubois.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Espinosa. Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Freeman.
Present.
Commissioner Guajardo. Alderperson Haddon.
Present.
Thank you. Superintendent Killen.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Males.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Malone. Commissioner Norrington Reeves. Commissioner Raymer. Okay, I need a minute. I pay really quick. Okay. Commissioner Rice. Commissioner Schleiser.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Thomas. And Commissioner Yonan. Okay. I think a few people are running a little late.
And I apologize, Yonan's present, missed.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Dalia, can we please add Commissioner Aglipe? She just joined us.
Yeah, I think I thought I.
Hi, here, present.
Hello. So we do have quorum. We'll continue with the meeting. The first item on our agenda is to go into public testimony. Dalia, do we have any public testimony, whether it's written or any registered speakers for today's meeting?
No, today we do not.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. So at the last meeting, we couldn't get quorum at the time when we were approving the minutes. So we weren't able to do the April approval of the minutes. So I'll entertain to do both the April and the May meetings. Everybody should have received them, I believe, earlier today. I don't know if there's any questions or any adjustments, but I'll entertain a motion for the approval and then a seconder if possible.
So moved, Alderwoman Haddon.
Thank you. We'll have Alderwoman Haddon moves. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Second, Commissioner. Manager. Okay, any discussion, any adjustments to the minutes? I don't see any hands. And I see that Harry is joining us as well. So if he could be also added to the committee meeting as a present. So all those in favor signify by saying aye for approval of the minutes.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Great. So the meeting minutes are approved. we'll move on to any updates from the chair, vice chair. I do not have any on our end. We are still waiting diligently to see if the governor extends the order. Seems like he has. We just don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. We'll keep you all abreast if there's any changes or if any of us need to be present to continue with our meetings in person. So as of now, we have been allowed to do or continue virtual meetings. So we'll be sure to circle back with all members if that changes. Vice Chair Lane, is there any additional updates?
No, Madam Chair, I think given the urgency of the topic that we're going to be talking about this afternoon, I'd like to move into our presentation from our guest expert witness, if I may.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. We're going to be talking about electric vehicles, and all of us know the importance from an environmental perspective of transitioning off of fossil fuels. And we also see that the importance of electric vehicles in terms of economic development and with it jobs, which is obviously a prime focus of the commission. What I think is less understood are the public health consequences of delaying a switch to electric vehicles. A report that I read recently, published by the Respiratory Health Association, indicated that pollution from diesel trucks will claim more than 400 lives across the state and make thousands of residents sick within the next year. So this is a matter of some urgency. Fortunately, we have among us a friend to all of us, I think, who is an expert on the topic. And his belief is that Cook County can and should become the Silicon Valley of the electric vehicle industry. So I'm delighted to formally introduce Reggie Greenwood, who, among many other jobs, capacities, and leadership roles, is a director of the Chicago Southland Economic Development Corporation, where he works with a variety of stakeholders to develop an integrated education, workforce, and economic development strategy for the Chicago Southland. Reggie is a graduate from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, where he earned both his bachelor's degree in business administration and his master's in city and regional planning with a concentration of economic development. So Reggie, thank you so much for being with us. We are grateful for your expertise, for your insights, and for your encouragement. And I think the commission will consider very seriously any actionable policy recommendations you want to offer to us this afternoon. So why don't you go forward with your presentation. Thalia, if you'd be so kind as to advance the PowerPoint slides for Mr. Greenwood, we would appreciate that. And Reggie, the podium is yours. And thanks again for
Great. Thank you, Mark. And what a pleasure to see everyone. This is such an incredible opportunity for us. We all have been involved in many projects, but I have really come to believe that electric vehicles is a sincere opportunity to do something unique and important, and the time is here to really make this thing happen. I see the slideshow. The PowerPoint? It kind of went away.
Thalia.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get it right back. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
So
you.
it is, as Mark said, I've been working at the Chicago Southland Economic Development Corporation for several years and many projects with many of you. I'm also now the director of the Supply Chain Innovation Center at Governor State University, where we have started a project designed to work with DCEO in a variety of ways about the electric vehicle supply chain. We recently hosted an event here about the supply chain where we had Sylvia Garcia from DCO and Dan Seals from Intersect and several company representatives had a chance to get together, and we all really learned a lot. And I'm really happy to get a chance to talk to us all about this. So I wanted to, I mean, it's such a big topic, right? So I'm going to do the best I can to create an introduction to the idea of what is happening in the electric vehicle supply chain and what the opportunities are for Cook County. And it's also a combination with Will County, which we'll talk about later. So I thought I'd begin with the next slide, just kind of briefing everyone that EVs is a wide set of technologies. Certainly it's cars, but it's also buses, school buses, last mile delivery, last mile drones, delivery cranes, passenger cranes, locomotives, and passenger drones. So just for a little bit of time, I'm just going to go through a couple of these examples. Next slide. So how many of you are looking forward to the day when a delivery drone will come to your backyard and deliver a product? Show of hands. It's hard to do in a drone. Have you guys thought about this? Do you know how fast this is coming? So last mile delivery drones are happening more rapidly than we think, I would suggest. And it is one aspect that's going to affect our lives probably sooner than later. Next slide. But I bet many of you haven't thought about passenger drones. It's called vertical takeoff and landing. These passenger drones will hold probably 6 to 10 people. They will deliver at 130 miles per hour. And they will be able to take off from a heliport that is about the size of a heliport for a helicopter. Guess where the first one will be deployed this year? This year. Could ask John a question. John, I need someone to talk. John Yonan, how rapidly do you think passenger drones will be happening in the world?
Definitely within the next decade.
You're wrong. Within the next year.
Okay, there you go.
So I was in Alliance, Texas last year, and this year they have built a heliport in downtown Dallas and a DFW. Their plans are literally to be delivering people from downtown Dallas to DFW next year. And they probably will be working in China this year. China, of course, always seems to be ahead of us. But by definition, a passenger drone is a device with at least 4 blades, all electric, obviously. And the advances in computer software, AI to manage the spins of the blades, new materials, these are happening now. So one of the things we'll talk about, a real important opportunity for Cook County is to develop a plan for both delivery last mile drones and passenger drones. There's 4 states that are ahead of us in this: Florida, Texas, and California. Florida, Texas, and Ohio. Ohio, Florida, Texas, and California are doing significant work on both last mile delivery and passenger drones. So if we don't really get involved in this, we're going to be behind other states what's involved. Okay, next slide. So it's not just drones, of course. It's also cars and buses. Has anyone been to Rivian? Sis, you have, I'm asked Sis, I know Sis. Sis, have you been to Rivian?
I have. It was right after they acquired their facility and were beginning to phase in the advancement of the lines that I'm not sure if it was shown here, but yes, I have had the tour.
Have you ridden one?
No, they were not at that point when we had come down.
Who's ridden in a Rivian? Howard, have you ridden in a Rivian?
No, but I'm ready to be picked up, Reggie, when you're in the neighborhood.
So I had the chance to go to Rivian last week, and I got a test drive, and it went. So this is the truck, right? They're also making the delivery vans for Amazon, but they also make this a pickup. I should say truck pickup. And we went from 0 to 70. How fast do you think that was? Go from 0 to 70.
3 seconds.
Yeah, 2 seconds. I mean, it's an extraordinary technology that you start and go this zip. But it's not just delivery trucks. We're also in Joliet and Will County. Lion Electric is building new buses, and they're going to be producing this year electric school buses. And what Mark was saying earlier, Mark, about the health impact of this, school buses, obviously, right? Mark, you'd agree with that would be one of the real big things we have to work on?
Absolutely, Reggie.
And they're coming off, they'll be developed this year, all brand new school buses. But it's not just school buses, it's not just buses, also it's the charging stations, right? So EV Box is a Illinois company among many companies I've got to know who are developing electric charging stations. But it's not just batteries, it's also fuel cells is another part of the construction. There's an Illinois company called Hyzon that is rapidly developing new technologies around using fuel cells. Next slide. But it's another Cook County company is a firm called MyJack Products, which many of us know well, John well. But so they build these large intermodal cranes that operate picking containers off trains and placing them near our own trucks. And again, this is why we're the center of this world. We'll talk about in a minute, but also these cranes. So MyJack is now a world leader in developing an electric intermodal crane. And they are rapidly so they have a battery assisted diesel engine now, this green solution, but they are working on using a fuel cell to power the battery. So it will be the greenest crane in the world in the near future being built in Cook County. Next slide. But it's not just manufacturing companies. Illinois is the home of a lot of research being done around the electric vehicle industry. And most obvious one is Argonne National Laboratory and their battery research. So world-class research in batteries, which of course the whole world is going to now depend upon who can make the batteries to make this happen. Then we also have several institutions such as MXD, is just for in general, an incredible research institution in Southern Illinois University. And I don't know if this is on here, MHub. We're part of a MHub solution for a $75 million proposal for clean tech manufacturing, which EV is part of that solution. Next slide. This is there's so many interesting facts to understand about. We could talk for long. Does anyone know the difference between level 1, level 2, and level 3 charging? Someone, do you know, Mark, what's the difference between level 1 and level 2 and level 3?
I don't, but I will soon.
Howard, do you know?
I do not. I know that it worries me that there are competing systems, but I'm ready to learn, Reggie.
Okay, so, Soshi's on the line. Soshi, hi. I saw this solar. Soshi, do you know the difference between level 1, level 2, and 3? I think I saw her.
I do not, Reggie.
So there are so many interesting things that we all need to learn about this. So level 1 is the charging that you put in your house. That takes 8 to 9 hours to charge your car. Level 2 is still using AC power. That's more 4 to 5 hours. Level 3 is using advanced DC charging that are going on grocery stores that you can charge in probably 20 to 30 minutes. So one of the really important opportunities for us, we need to build level 3 charging stations throughout the county so that it can populate, people can feel comfortable buying electric cars. Because you can't, if it's not at night, you can't you can't have people go to the grocery store and wait 8 hours, obviously, for charging. So that's something we need to work on. Understanding that. Another interesting word is EVTOL. I kind of said that, electric vertical takeoff and landing. It is an amazing technology, passenger, drones called VTOL, eVTOL. And it's critically important that we in Cook County, I would like to suggest that we start saying we're going to compete with Dallas, that we're going to be a center of vertical takeoff and landing drones. I find an interesting thing, I didn't know this, line of sight. This is for this is for delivery drones. Right now, there are very few systems approved by the FAA for beyond line of sight drones. The line of sight drones are what we're all familiar with, probably, drones using for surveying and doing photographs, right? So, but to do a vertical line of sight drone, the driver has to be able to see the drone. And you have to get a license to do that. And there are some restrictions on that. But beyond line of sight is another term where a drone delivery company is literally, driving the drone remotely beyond where they can see it. There are 4 or 5 in the country that's got approval, Amazon obviously being one, Google Waymo being the other, Walmart, and and I think it's Walgreens doing delivery systems. It's much more complicated to get those kind of approvals from the FAA, but beyond line of sight. The other fact is it's amazing how what's making this all work is the cost of batteries have declined precipitously over the last 5 or 6 years, or 7 or 8 years. That's one of the technologies that allowed this to go. I just thought I'd throw those in there. It's just, I've delved into this. I keep finding I've learned so much over the last 6 months thinking about this. These are some of the many, interesting facts about this new industry that's going to take over the world in the near future. Okay, next slide. Can you guys hear me? Next slide. Oh, thank you. There, that's one. Certainly the opportunity is to benefit from us of the companies, the OEMs making the final product and the environmental and economic benefit of having those. But if not more important, maybe equally important, is to develop the complex supply chain to manufacture the parts that are going into these systems. And it's interesting that I just wanted to point out, we are doing this currently in Will County and Cook County. And these are just some companies. I don't know, many of you may know K Manufacturing. They're located in Calumet City. They just invested, I don't know, $10 to $15 million in a new work cell for making gears for electric motors to go in electric cars. I mentioned earlier, MyJack Products is making those electric intermodal cranes also in Cook County. Line Electric in Will County is producing school buses. A company called SCA is developing the drivetrains for refurbishing school buses. Molex, worldwide company, they're in Will County, they're making power control units. All Cell Batteries is a great, interesting firm. They're a startup out of IIT that has Mohammed. I actually visited them a few months ago They are developing a control system for batteries. I mean, they've developed it and they just got bought by a big company. I mean, it's one of our real success stories in Cook County. A startup out of IIT professor developed a really sophisticated patent project and just got bought by a much bigger company. Panduit, Cook County company, they want to make they're a worldwide company that make connectors for data systems. They're very interested in working, a guy named John, working with us on how to become part of the EV industry. Flexing Gate, big company in Cook County, they make bumpers for cars. They're really looking into focusing on making bumpers for electric cars. LB Steel, a Cook County company that makes, one of the things they make are steel chassis for trucks. And they're very interested in they make wheel sets for trains, but they're very interested in making these heavy metal products for line electric. And of course, Ford Motor Company, who are not making electric cars in Cook County, but they could. Does that make sense? Does everyone have a sense of just how big this currently is? In Cook County, we're making all these things now. Okay, next slide. So I'd like to suggest this is a huge opportunity for us to focus on becoming, as Mark said, the Silicon Valley of electric vehicles. Just to say, so Cook and Will County are an integral part of the U.S. largest logistics hub with intermodal operations from UPCN, BNSF, CXS, Norfolk Southern, all related to our massive highway system and air cargo. I don't know if we all understand that delivery system has led to, by the way, the next stage of logistics software unicorns, being startups in Cook County that's become, is a unicorn $100 million equity raise or two? Right, this for an example, Coyote Logistics started here with the idea of leveraging all of these intermodal operations, and they developed a software program for companies to better integrate software into the logistics services. One right behind them, Project 44, is world-class software developer around logistics. They're located in Cook County. But I'd like to propose to us that the next stage is electric vehicles to really push the deployment of logistics, passenger drones, electric autonomous trucks, charging stations, and become a center of manufacturing throughout the supply chain. If we don't do it, Dallas is doing, or we're behind Dallas and Columbus, Ohio, in Florida and California. We have an opportunity to catch up. Next slide. Just a recap that policy really matters. I just thought I'd go over some of the specific stuff that the state has done. The CEJA Act is passed and it's providing will provide more and more support for the electric vehicle industry jobs. REV is an amazing state law that if you're investing in electric vehicle production or supply chain, you get potentially 100% EDGE tax credit. It's 50, I don't know if everybody knows this, that's a whole story in itself, how EDGE tax credits work, but REV has significantly increased the amount of tax incentive for new investments in electric cars, electric vehicles in the supply chain. Next slide. So just some thoughts about what could Cook County do to really make this the Silicon Valley of the supply chain. I mean, there's a lot of longer conversation. We need training in this. So I had a chance to visit Heartland Community Colleges in Bloomington last week, and they have a full curriculum for career paths in electric vehicle industry. They've been approved by the state, and they're working closely with Rivian, obviously, that they're really leading the pack here. I know Prairie State College is building a similar curriculum, and I don't know in the city if there's one doing it of the, the city community colleges, but this is something that's worth really focusing on. Are we training people for managing high voltage systems in electric vehicles? I'm actually working with DCO on this project. That's why I went to Bloomington. I've been tasked to develop a way of thinking about a standard curriculum for EV. And my colleague at OAI is working with, we're meeting with Prairie State College about trying to apply for EPA funding. Another is we need more incubators throughout the county around manufacturing startups. The premier one is MHub. Most of you know that. I'm actually part of a clean tech grant with MHub. But there's opportunity to do many more of those. I'm working on another incubator in South Cook County, but we need more companies that would help people understand the opportunities around this electric vehicle industry. And the last one, as an idea, one of my projects now is I'm doing an analysis of the purchasing history of OEMs to try to match what companies in our region could be part of that supply chain. Maybe they have the capacity to do so, but aren't doing it yet. So a matching program around supply chain for OEMs. Another is really investing in level 3 charging stations around the county, but working with companies to get them to be built here, working with IBEW to get the training. They're trying to develop a training, I think they have it, about charging stations to make sure they're safe. The charging station is a big part of it. Okay, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. I'm sorry, it's hard to do this thing over. It's hard to have a conversation with you guys. That's the idea, that kind of go through what electric vehicles are, what the supply chain is, to try to make the case that this is a big deal and that we've got to get behind it, or we're going to get passed by many other people. So comments, observations, help me now. It's hard.
I believe Commissioner Males has a comment or question.
Great.
Thank you, Mark, and Vice Chair Mark Lane. Reggie, this is great. And one of the things that I think underscores the immediacy of how people on the manufacturing side see the progress is a report that I heard this week that Tesla, but mainly Musk, has begun filing for trademarks in the food industry, service industry, so that what we today know as gas stations, which will be EV stations, they will have convenience stores. And there's either, if they're moving in that direction now, I think anyone who's looking at this can take it seriously that what we know as gas stations will evolve, probably hybrid, and then move more in the direction. And if the leaders in the industry are going in that direction, then we need to be aware and, I believe, look at policies. And this is something that relates to a topic that came up at an EDAC meeting. And I think for our elected officials here, one of the things that has been talked about is incentives to make this happen. And this would be tax incentives. And it's not that they have been asked yet, but one of the concerns I think elected officials will have is the compatibility of these stations. Right now, you can go, and the only restriction is don't put diesel in your engine, but of your passenger car, but it's not going to happen by accident because it doesn't fit your fuel tank. At the same time, if there's different charging stations, whether it's level 1, 2, or 3 in the speed, I'm think we're more concerned with, can somebody try to capture the market with a particular type of charger? Reggie, what do you see as that happening, and how can you help policy people be guided when people come and ask for something which may not serve all the cars, all the trucks? You follow?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a big opportunity and issue, is how do we standardize, not just whether, I mean, that's part of it, to have a standardized plug, but you got to have really regulatory building codes that everybody shares so that they're safe. I mean, they can blow up, for God's sake, right? So there is a real opportunity and requirement that we come up with a standard way that all of these EV companies follow, to not just to make them ubiquitous, but also make them safe. And so that you're going to require people who install them are going to have an approved certification that they know how to do this. And so who provides that approval is a critical issue. And it will, if we have that, it will cause more charging stations to come here, because they will be able to know that there will be people will be more apt to use them. Howard, IBEW, they have a program called Powering Chicago, is their website. I can't think his name right now, but yes, we've had several conversations with him about what you just said. So I think that is a real policy issue and a real opportunity to have more charging stations be put here, because people will feel more safe, not just be able to use them, but they feel safe when you plug them in. Power management, big issue here. It's a different thing. It's a different type of technology, what I've learned now, and we all have to know how to use them well. Great point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I see Superintendent Killen.
Yeah,
Yes.
Commissioner Killen, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So two comments on this, Reggie. One, I'm very excited by this. We hear about this all in the transportation space. One first observation, you mentioned the curriculum that's happening down at Heartland. We also have Rivian and other autonomous vehicles companies right adjacent to. So I think as we're thinking about curriculum, we also need to think about where we can have local on-the-job training. So it's not just what you're learning in the classroom, it's what we're able to work with local employers to try to get you that hands-on experience. Again, so it's just that connection. When you see Bloomington and Normal, I'm like, there's a reason why that was one of the first places they started, because they have a lot of companies down there that are doing the autonomous vehicles and electric. So we think about innovations, they're in a similar yet different space. The second one that I'd like to mention is that there's lots of conversations around EV, and we're looking at opportunities. Cook County, and you may get glimpses of this in a later presentation, but looking at opportunities for EV installs within Cook County and what fund source we may have to make those installations. For me, I am a special purpose fund. So my sole funding comes from motor fuel tax. So that is my apportionment from the state of Illinois, for sales tax on motor fuel. Well, now what we're talking about is the complete inverse of that, right? That is going away from motor fuel and going to electric vehicles. My fund source actually doesn't allow me to spend on that type of infrastructure to date, and that is guided by state legislation. So as we're thinking about the policy space and opportunities, we want to sit back and look at the bigger picture here, that what the ideas are, but making sure we're identifying those funding streams and really what it's going to take to get to where we need to go, truly with an aggregation of funding, right? The point here is not just to have local funding, but it's local funding, it's state funding, it's federal funding, as we see these opportunities outlined in the new infrastructure bill, and how we collectively can really capitalize on them.
I bet we'll be able to acquire more money from the infrastructure bill, the more we can be organized. Absolutely.
I believe
1,000%. Absolutely.
But also I think about training in the OJT training and working training is really something we're, again, me as GSU, I'm really trying to work on, and we need to think about how to add more resources to how to do that well.
Thank you. Commissioner Aglipay, I believe you had a comment.
I think my question was for the supply chain and maintenance for these power management systems, as you call it, Reggie. What's been the discussion so far on what the future vision is of, micro and small business owners, self-employed, to get the training so they can provide services and hang their own shingle in this emerging industry as well, versus the larger, medium-sized firms having a monopoly over maintenance of these electric charging stations and even the parts and maintenance of the vehicles, whether it be the passenger planes that are really kind of cool. I wonder about safety though, but not, to other electric vehicles.
Oh, thank you. We have got to really, that was the idea behind incubators, right? Small, to provide systems and companies, help them be more technologically sophisticated to find where the supply chain opportunities are. And they're huge, right? These engines, the electric motors are so different. They require many different projects, different parts, and the opportunities for innovation to do it differently. Can you imagine how these things will change over the next 4 or 5 years? So we need to really engage our community colleges and our universities in some coordinated way to be able to bring technology into small companies so that it's not just the big firms making this happen. So there's a whole opportunity for technical, like this company that did this battery, that's a small, they started with 5 people, developed this battery technology. But also maintenance. Gas stations do not know how to do this. Changing a battery or doing something with this high voltage system in cars are totally not done. And we need to train a lot of people how to do that. Does that make sense? And the opportunities for small companies to do that is huge, but it will take a concentrated effort. It won't, we got to work on it. But there's both those are small companies to make parts and to innovate parts, and also to train local service stations to be able to handle these cars. I don't have my electric car yet. One day I'll tell you a quick story. I have a friend who bought $10,000 of Tesla stock, sold it for $70,000 and bought a Tesla, which is a side interesting event, but he doesn't know where to get it serviced now, to say.
Other questions or comments?
Commissioner Flores, and then Alderwoman Haddon, and then I think on deck we also have Commissioner Caliento.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a comment, and Reggie, thank you for your presentation. I think that the information that you provided is very valuable, and it just highlights, as Superintendent Sis Killen mentioned, the need to find additional funding sources because there is a huge need. And unfortunately, there are many opportunities that we can all collaborate around in order to position this region to aggressively go after some of the federal funds that are available. You mentioned MHub, and I'm glad that you're part of that coalition. Cook County supported the application for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge with the Illinois Clean Tech Coalition that is being led by MHub. But I know that President Prekwenko and the Board of Commissioners have been very supportive of this application, and the county actually provided financial support to even get us to the point of putting an application together, because putting applications of that scale takes quite a bit of effort. And it's a strong application. We made it through phase 1, which was great. There were over 500 applicants, and 60 were selected to go on to phase 2. We now have submitted our application. Well, MHub, as the lead entity, submitted the application on behalf of all the partners that included people throughout Illinois. So it's an aggressive grant opportunity, but hopefully, if successful, there will be significant resources coming to support this region, many of the initiatives that you mentioned. And Commissioner Jerry, I know you talk about the small business piece and ensuring that there is equity. Equity was embedded across that application, which was great, whether it was in the small business component of it, the workforce component. So it was really great to see us convene partners to be intentional about this work, create a vision and a mission of how we can coordinate efforts across the board, whether it was SIU or Northwestern or the county, both the Bureau of Economic Development and the Department of Environment and Sustainability have projects that are incorporated into that application, as well as Reggie, as he mentioned. So I'm excited. I'm keeping our fingers crossed that we're successful. Obviously, these applications are very competitive, but so far it looks promising. So send us well wishes, and hopefully in September we'll get some good news with regards to that application.
Good luck with that, Commissioner Flores.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hadden?
Thanks so much, Vice Chair. I just wondering in a little bit of a different direction, in looking at the demand, right, and kind of the market for the charging stations. We had a committee meeting for our Committee on Economic, Capital, and Technology Development on the city side, I think last month or so, where we were getting some updates on city kind of programs for our own fleet vehicle electrification. And apparently we've got a study that some groups are engaged in, where I asked about the public revenue generating potential for EV charging stations. So, and I'm just wondering, Mr. Greenwood, if there are, in this kind of space where right now, we have a lack of charging stations, we're kind of in a, if you build it, they will come kind of scenario. There's lots of incentives now, I see, for people to get them in their homes and garages, but for kind of dense urban areas like a lot of the cities in our region here, people don't have garages, or they're not going to do that. So thinking about, the gas stations are the obvious space, but there haven't been a lot of financial incentives. And as a city who's always looking for revenue sources, I've kind of been on the city side like, hey, couldn't this be an opportunity with all of our public land and some of our facilities where, one, we could help meet a need that's there that the private sector isn't quite picking up yet, but also potentially look at revenue options. And so just wondering if there are kind of any examples or folks kind of working on this that you're aware of.
God, what a great, first of all, there is really a chicken or egg thing, right?
Yeah.
Need the cars, need the stations, and by station, need the cars. But that is certainly being, I think, clearly said across the world. We need charging stations that will lead to more cars, buses being available. I think that's the clear data for that. The idea of whether it could be a nonprofit or a municipality that would own the charging station, actually, I hadn't thought of that. That's a hell of an idea. We should really try to explore that. I mean, one of my nonprofits, I'm trying to figure out how to do that myself, just as a small scale idea. But that's a great thing to think about. What would be the source of capital that municipal government, city, particularly the big one, we should really think about that. I don't know. I will ask that question. I'll start looking into that. Are there examples of public entities, acquiring, investing charging stations and use it as a revenue source? I hadn't thought of that.
There's certainly analogs. I mean, you look at the Tennessee Valley Authority all the way on up. There are all kinds of examples of public-private partnerships that have analogous opportunities that they've been able to monetize for the public good.
Yeah, so this charging stations could be an interesting example how to do that.
Thank you.
P3.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Caliento, please.
Sure, thank you. And I think this is slightly related, I think, to the undercurrent of Alderwoman Haddon's question, which is about community economic development and growth, right? So one of the questions I have, and putting on my social enterprise hat and thinking about the opportunity for workforce and workforce development. I know we're talking sort of generally about the opportunity for jobs and job creation. Curious about what this could do, how we would think about all levels of jobs and the kinds of skills that would be necessary and the kinds of skills that are available in communities. So thinking about untapped talent and opportunities to even potentially work with the social enterprise community to build pathways in advance of some of the growth in this area. So as you think about technical skill sets needed, credentialing, et cetera, what is the opportunity to work with social enterprises that are in the workforce development space to provide and create pathways for untapped talent to see this as a viable opportunity for them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was what I really found in the Heartland community. I'm sorry, I don't remember the right, they have a certificate that they developed and passed by, the community college board called, energy, battery and energy management technician. So that is a skill set that does not require a 4-year degree. It's some probably 4 classes that would lead to a certification, and there will be jobs everywhere for that. I mean, every car, Ford Motor Company, everybody is going to need people who have that certificate. And we really have the opportunity to get behind making that happen. And that is, I've done a lot of work in career pathways in we work on, CNC operations that lead to industry recognized certifications in the career pathway. Yeah, absolutely. There is not just an opportunity, there's we got to do it. And it's out there, and we all need to really get behind how to get people to do it. The college I have the closest relationship here is Prairie State College, and we're meeting in a couple of weeks to continue this conversation. But it needs obviously to be more than that, and there really is a career pathway. And like OAI, right? I've done a lot of work with them, and we are having that meeting to actually. There's an EPA grant coming out, and she's thinking about making an EPA grant because of the environmental impact of this. So that's great. I'd love to have more conversation about that.
And that's great, thanks. And I think it would garner a lot of goodwill if we're being proactive and thinking about those kinds of things, even in advance of some of the big boom that we know is about to come.
So I have some more, as we keep in touch, we know each other. I'm developing a description of like 5 or 6 career pathways based on what Heartland gave me that I think would be just what you said, that require, study, but not 4-year degrees.
I think, thank you for that. I believe Commissioner Schleiser has a question.
Oh, just a comment that there's also a lot of energy around sustainable entrepreneurship startups, really thinking about the charging infrastructure and how to scale that up in those areas between the garage, the gas station, supermarket, and in the public right of way. So I just put 2 of them that I'm aware of, and I know there's more. The Community Charging Initiative, who's actually working in Woodlawn right now in Chicago, as well as another startup called It's Electric. So
oh, really?
So this is another area where there are models out there that are trying to be scaled up regionally for this.
Bill, I don't know that we've met. I know the Delta Institute well. I'd love to have a follow-up conversation with that. I don't know, Mark, maybe you can send, I don't know, I have Bill's email. Everyone, but I'd really like to talk to you about that.
No problem, Reggie, that'd be great.
We will connect. Thank you for that. Other questions? I have one of my own if there.
Commissioner Brutus, and then I'd like to chime in after.
Oh, okay, Commissioner Brutus, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks, Reggie. Good to see you again. We've met a couple of times. Please tell Marc I said hello.
Okay, okay.
I really, I want to echo and just say I'm very supportive of Commissioner Alderman Haddon, who kind of proposed like this municipal model, concept that I think is very interesting and one that we should explore, not only at the city, obviously, but certainly with the county, because I just think it's fantastic that, the city and or county government could be a leader in this. And in my head, I'm thinking like this is very similar to, our public-private partnerships that we've done with Divvy or the Skyway lease. I think there's a way to lead, right, in this in this industry, because we have a fleet of cars, obviously, and I just think that, you know, the build it and they will come is kind of happening. Now, I'll just say this, like I work for the Department of Planning and Development, and we had an RFP in Bronzeville out for reuse of a city old streets and sanitation building in the 3rd Ward. And we ultimately went with another proposal, but one of the proposals that we did have was for an EV charging station, right? And of course, you know, some kind of, you know, retail built into it. But at the time, we didn't see the justification. And I think that that's the challenge, is finding the numbers and finding that EV market within a radius of where these charging stations are. And coincidentally, I'm actually now looking at an application in Auburn Gresham for city land, and the proposal is somebody wants to build an EV station. And so like we're going to be asking for a market study. So I think that this is happening, you know, I foresee it now starting to maybe pick up business a little bit, you know, marginally. I don't know what the numbers are in the industry in Chicago and South Side, but, you know, certainly there are a lot of electric vehicles in the area. I mean, obviously Tesla is, you know, putting out a car that is very affordable, you know, $50,000 or $60,000. And I see it coming, and I think it's incumbent on government to really start to explore this. And so, you know, I'm hopeful that, you know, if the city doesn't lead, then the county hopefully, you know, could get some recommendations from, you know, your group moving forward if this is a ongoing conversation. But certainly the Committee on Economic Development and Capital Technology would be a good place for us to explore that, you know, at the city level. And, you know, just, I don't know how, you know, but I see it coming. And I think in certain areas it would catch on quicker in Chicago. But certainly I think people are interested in this industry. And then Commissioner St. Louis Caliento is, you know, also exploring the job creator, the job training and workforce development. I think it's, I just think it's fantastic, you know. Glad that you came, Reggie, and you know, I look forward to the rest of the conversation while I'm still in quorum. So
thank you. And I think
Vice
Commissioner
Chair.
Alston had a comment.
Yep.
Harry, you're muted. Thank you.
No, I was just kind of layering in on the existing thoughts about community economic development and thinking about pipelines between the larger manufacturers, the new business opportunities, that type of thing, to think about apprenticeship pathways. Is one thing to send folks through training programs, but you got to move them from training to employment. And with all the partners in the supply chain for this and potential partners in the supply chain for this, there's got to be all types of manufacturing related occupations and pathways that can be created that might be ripe, in my mind, for apprentices to find a way into those fields, regardless of whether they come from continuing education programs, certificate programs, community colleges, or four-year colleges. Then also there's the idea of stealing an old concept from the SBA, mentor protege partnerships, in terms of supply chain partners, and in terms of making sure that MWBEs are part of the second tier supply chain to some of these larger manufacturers. So I'm thinking about that, as well as the idea of not only business incubation, but business co-ops and employee-owned enterprise.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Alston. Are there other comments, questions?
Well, I just had I'd like to chime in just because, Reggie, first of all, thank you so much for coming before the commission. I just a few days ago, actually about 2 days ago, we had a presentation in another arena, in different not within this commission, from Manufacturing Renaissance. And, you know, they're pushing legislation at the federal level and trying to figure out how to get additional support for what Commissioner Caliento was mentioning about creating these pipelines of people. And one of the things that really stood out to me and they've highlighted was that in the Chicagoland area, there is vacancies for about like 58,000 manufacturing jobs. And the fact that within CPS, you know, out of the 30,000 students that, high school students that are part of the Chicago Public Schools, about maybe 100 are actually taking technical manufacturing type courses. So that's a huge gap in what we're seeing. And I think to your point about figuring out how do we get those skill sets and move them forward into this evolution of some sort in technology and manufacturing, and the fact that you know, a lot of our students have been geared towards four-year universities and have not really been wrapped around the fact that, you know, the trades and manufacturing is a potential career opportunity for many, especially when you're involving technology, when you're involving these amazing, again, revolutionary type of changes in our life and in transportation. So I'm just wondering, you know, have you started conversations besides some of the colleges that you've mentioned, or with organizations like Manufacturing Renaissance and others, to figure out, you know, how to support the bills at the federal level to be able to invest in those types of pipelines? And is there anything that you see particularly on our end, whether it's the city of Chicago or Cook County, to help with those efforts?
Thank you. In fact, I'm actually on the board of CMRC, so I know what the things you're talking about. So yes, I'm trying to support. One of the things I think the EV offers, it is so cool. I mean, you want to interest young people in the career? Talk about autonomous robots and electric vehicles and drones. Throw drones into it and everybody gets excited. So I think this new technology offers the opportunity to weave together something that is more exciting than just saying manufacturing by itself. We're manufacturing drones, and you will get much more attention, I believe, with getting young people excited about the careers. So I think, just to go back and kind of restate that, charging stations are a big part of it. Drones are a big part of it. And drones are something that so I went around and asked the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, CMAP, and some other organizations, are you thinking about drones now? And everyone said, well, not really. So I think we need to think about electric vehicles in the broad sense of the word and really position ourselves to attract, you know, the people. Well, there's a company that actually I know is meeting with Mayor Lightfoot this week about asking the mayor to make a decision that Chicago will be the center of drones. I don't know, obviously, what is happening with that, but that's the kind of thing we need to think about. Electric vehicles is a broad term that has manufacturing career pathways that are exciting, that I'm excited about it. And I know that we want to be part of this next industrial revolution, and it's got something to do. And remember, electric vehicles are data things, right? They're so much more data intensive than a regular car. There's a whole career around data management for moving vehicles, right? So it's data, electrical vehicles, and the amount of information being gathered by these devices is a whole nother thing. So anyway, did I answer that right? Yes, we got to talk about pathways and careers with CMRC, and build within that the excitement of creating a new industry. And I think we at Cook County need to go, by God, we are all into this, and we're going to be world class. I'm going to something called this place where you attract foreign investment in a few weeks. And I want to be able to say what Marc said at the beginning. We want to be the Silicon Valley of electric vehicles. And we're going to attract all these companies here. Sorry.
So Reggie, there's no shortage of excitement among this group. So let me take a step back and ask you kind of a competitive question here, because clearly we're going to be moving ahead and we're going to be doing it enthusiastically and we're going to be doing it successfully. That's clear. I did want to focus on the EV industry. In specific, I see that there are billions of dollars pouring into new plants and battery factories and the like in Ohio, in Kentucky, in Tennessee. I see that Rivian, which I think is the jewel of Illinois' current EV industry, announced an even bigger facility in Atlanta. And that's notwithstanding the state legislation last year. And and maybe this is a tough question to answer. What is it that they offer that we don't? And how can we compensate for that, whatever it may be? And looking at it more on the positive side, what do we offer, or what can we offer through policy or galvanization of various kinds of stakeholders around mission? What else can we do that will set us apart from what I will describe as our state competitors?
Thank you for, I'll just have to, I do have my own opinion, obviously.
Well, that's what you're here to give us. So thank you.
But it is companies who are making investment decisions are going to be based on the full integration of the whole system, that we're thinking about deployment, we're thinking about training, we're thinking about startup manufacturing, we're thinking about incentives. It's the whole plethora of a system that we want to stand out and say, we believe in this industry. So we have been successful. We don't want to underestimate how successful we've been, but it is competitive. We just lost Samsung is just moving their battery. We as Illinois was at the last phase of getting a new battery plant.
But what do these other states that seem to be outperforming us in this area have that we don't have? What is the attraction?
Well, I think
I
have a friend who's working with Ohio, and Ohio has consciously said what I just said. They're saying we want to be the electric vehicle center of the world, and they invite foreign direct investment meetings. They have constant conversations with universities. We should have IIT, UIU, everybody should get together and say, we're going to do this. And it's starting, a big one is DPI, right? So Discovery Partners is a big player. The two big players, MHub and DPI. And I think we as Cook County should be intimately involved in both of those in saying, we're not like we are with MHub. We are, as Sochi was saying. We need to be meeting with DPI as a big player.
Okay, well, I know those people, many of us here do, and the others you mentioned. So let me ask you this, as kind of a starting point, would it be reasonable for us to have some form of convening where the commission, for example, might bring together all of the necessary or desirable stakeholders or prospective stakeholders and gain consensus around a county agenda that includes policy, but also corporate commitment, foundation commitments, academic institution commitments, all the players, so we become kind of the catalyst to drive such an agenda? Would you see that as a reasonable starting point among the various things we might be doing?
There's such an opportunity. Yes, absolutely. We need, everything you just said, Mark, is kind of happening. Can we organize it in a way so that we can find synergies? So there are going to be a lot of synergies out there. And can we create a way of letting those synergies become aware of each other?
I think we also need to find out what are their impediments, what are their obstacles, what are their challenges, what are their needs? How can we encourage them? How can we help them through policy? Are there regulations that need to be broken down? Are there additional incentives? We see what happened at the federal level in terms of the $10,000 or more consumer incentive where Congress balked. I mean, we talked about standardization on the one hand, we also are dealing in a federal system. And, what's going on at the state level is, some have criticized, it hasn't been enough. And at the federal level, obviously there are challenges and polarization, but here we are where we have the city and the county. And I think we have the capacity to do some things locally that perhaps can't so readily be done at higher levels of government.
Well, the state government rev, you have to invest $20 million to get that extra tax credit. And I met with K Manufacturing, they're investing $10 million. There was nothing we could do for them. There is something about potentially leveraging companies who invest in equipment at a smaller scale that the state won't do is one thought.
I didn't want to belabor it, but I just wanted to throw that out to see.
No, so just to say, I have my job, I'm working on this. I mean, I'm excited about it and I have the time. I have two professors. I'm involved and I would really love to find some of us that wants to.
Okay, so thank you. That's a very nice nexus to what I'm about to say. So Reggie had previously volunteered to collaborate with the working group we might put together around these issues. And, what was interesting as each of the commissioners asked questions or made comments, all of you are looking at this problem, opportunity through a different lens, through different experiences, through different expertise, even for different objectives. And Commissioner Killen has very graciously agreed to chair such a working group. And Reggie has agreed to work with that working group and let's make stuff happen. So all of you who are interested in rolling up your shirt sleeves and making something happen here, please reach out to Commissioner Killen and or me or both of us, and we will start putting together meetings around this space. And Reggie has indicated he has the time and the bandwidth and the willingness to give us the benefit of his expertise. And I think we are uniquely positioned, and the timing could not be better to pursue the objective we have defined of making Cook County the Silicon Valley of the EV industry. And I think we can do that, and I think we should do that. And I think there are all kinds of social and environmental and economic reasons to make that a priority of this commission. So Reggie, I want to thank you and thank Commissioner Killen for your willingness to lead this effort. And thanks to everybody for your contributions to this conversation, which I think was really extraordinary and indicated great enthusiasm and excitement for the potential that we collectively have here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone. What a pleasure to see many of you again.
Reggie, if you want to stick around for the rest of this, you're invited to do so. You're a member of the family anyway. And if you want to head out, we understand
my wife
that
just
too.
texted me and said, "Where the hell am I?" So I think I have to go. So
well, we're happy to have you, and we will absolutely take unfair advantage of you going forward. So
thanks, guys.
Thanks for making that offer.
Thanks. Bye.
Great. So we'll definitely circle back again if you are interested in looking into participating in that. We'll definitely reach out to Commissioner Killen or anybody, either the vice chair or myself, so that we can connect.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks again for everybody's active involvement. That makes all the difference.
So we'll move on to the next item. We did have on our agenda today that we were going to have an update from our last meeting. I know it was a few of you had expressed interest in getting some ARPA funding updates. So we're actually going to table that conversation for the next meeting, where our wonderful Commissioner Xochitl Flores would be able to give us additional information and updates on expenditures, programming. There's a lot of things in the works around small businesses, around technology, etc. So we'll be able to get those updates at the next meeting. So what we'll do is I'll hand it back to Vice Chair Lane to go into some of the committee updates.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So taking this more or less in chronological order from the time these working groups were created. The first working group is dealing with community investment vehicles. That group is chaired by Commissioners Freeman and Raymer. Commissioner Freeman, do you have a report on behalf of your working group today?
No, our meeting is next week, so we don't
Okay.
have any updates.
We'll look forward to your report next month then. Thank you for that. And Commissioner Aglape, do you have a report on the diverse talent pipeline working group?
No, I'm still assembling the working group and working with Josh Harris on that because he'd like to dovetail that with weighing in on the RFP that is going to come out, like influencing the trends in that, seeing how that the thought leadership could feed into that and other activities as well from the Obama Presidential Center.
Very much appreciate that. And the Obama Foundation has made Josh available to us as their primary point person on our initiative with respect to which they're collaborating. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And Commissioner Yonan, I believe, is just getting started with the working group dealing with redeployment of underutilized church property for the public good. So I wouldn't anticipate, Commissioner Yonan, that you have anything to report yet, but we're happy to have you leading us.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just that we've got our date set for June 22nd, and Christy, Roger, and Patrick and myself, have got that on our calendars, and that will be our kickoff. So thank you.
I will look forward to joining you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't believe Commissioner Anderson is with us this evening. Am I correct? Commissioner Anderson is leading the group on reparations, and I know there has been some involvement already from the folks in Los Angeles, and they have some very specific ideas about how we should be looking at that issue. So a meeting has just been scheduled with those folks to give us the benefit of their insights, and they take a very different tack than the city of Evanston has taken. So it's interesting to compare notes and see what might work best for us. And next month, we'll look forward to Commissioner Killen's report of her working group on electric vehicles. So I believe that concludes the reports on our various working groups, and thanks to those leaders.
Great. So I know on our agenda, we didn't have any other additional things besides that. So I will open it up if there's any final announcements before we adjourn for today's meeting. Okay, we have nothing today. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll definitely be circling back with the prospective committees. And if in the meantime, if there's any suggestions, I know at the last time we were stressing that, again, emailing the whole commission is we could put it in violation of OMA. So I'm thankful for all of you all that, haven't gone into back and forth on conversations via email. I'm just a reminder to be careful. Just if you want to get involved with the committees, feel free to reach out to Mark. He will make sure to connect you with the committee that you are trying to get involved with. And we will see you next month. Thank you all for
Great
joining.
meeting, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Be well.
Stay safe.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you.